Movement in Fortnite has forever changed with the introduction of tactical sprint, mantling, aka climbing, and sliding in the game. It is no longer just as simple as where you are in builds and rotating to zone. In today's video, I'm going to be showing the fundamentals and also how to master movement in Fortnite for both the zero build mode and also for regular pubs with builds. So the reason why movement is so important in Fortnite is it leads to positioning. Positioning is absolutely everything in Battle Royale. It can always give you a better advantage and lead to you always getting that win. There's three important ways that you can utilize positioning in Fortnite, and that is line of sight, repositioning, and also leading enemies. So first thing you want to do when we're jumping into it today is go to your game mode. You want to click island code and you want to copy and paste the island code from your description. Now this map I did make myself, and this is the first ever creative map I have made. Although this map will be showing you a lot of things, it's not going to be showing you how to move around with propellers, cannons, and also ziplines. So that will be something else shown in an actual game because you can't even use that in Battle Labs at the moment. This map is going to show you how to slide, how to sprint, and also how to climb / mantle in the game and how to utilize that in fight. So once you load in, you just hit the escape button, you hit here, you press start game, and then you don't have to wait for your timer to count all the way down. Something else to note during this map as well, I also made a movement chest here with items to use in game. Now I did record a version of this video primarily first that was like an earlier version of this that had me using all of these items and stuff, but then when I started editing, that video ended up being over 40 minutes long. So we're going to break it down into two separate videos. This video is going to be how to master movement, and the other video is going to be how to utilize items or utility items in the game in order to get your movement better. That includes shockwaves, launch pads, and also bouncers. So make sure you stay subscribed for that. So once you load into the map, you can grab a couple of weapons here. I would recommend grabbing like an SMG and shotgun at least. First thing you want to do is make sure you have your binds down pack. If you already have your binds down pack, you can skip ahead so you're not wasting any of your time, but if you don't know that stuff, this is what you do. So go into your settings and make sure you have your sprint on something that's really comfortable to use. On top of that, have the same thing for your jump and for your crouch mechanic. Now crouching is also for sliding, and the same goes for jumping. Jumping is also for mantling, aka climbing. So while you're in this little area here, you want to learn like the basics or make sure you're comfortable with it. So make sure you can sprint from side to side here. Make sure you can also do the same with sliding. Now you don't always have to sprint to slide, you can just slide generally, but you need to have a little bit of momentum. If you're just like standing still and you're not moving much, you're not going to slide. So make sure you have that figured out. And then if you jump down this little section here, you can also practice your mantling / climbing here. And then you can also do this while sprinting. Once you're comfortable with that, there is three ways to get down. Now you need to pay attention for this course because it's not self-explanatory. So there's three ways down from this course. As you can see here, there's little ledges here that come off the edges here. Now this is for very basic practice of making sure you know what you're landing on in game. This is not like the main part of this or like the main reason this exists, but it is also good practice. So you can practice climbing up this and moving side to side with this as well and mantling up the wall. And that's the first way down and the first way up. So the second way down for this is learning how to mantle land. So in Fortnite at the moment, if you're falling from height and you mantle onto something last minute, you won't take fall damage, similar to how if you jump in a vehicle at the last moment. See, if I fall down from here, this is fall damage height, but if I time my mantle perfectly and I land on this and I catch myself rather than just landing on it with my feet, then therefore I won't take fall damage. So this is really good practice for that. So just get really comfortable with landing your mantles from the sides. You can do this from all sides as well. It doesn't have to be that simple one, and you can practice this like as much as you like and make sure you get your direct positioning right. So onyi editing from the future here to tell you that this information is somewhat outdated now. You no longer don't take any fall damage when you mantle or catch yourself on stuff. It seems to be a reduced amount of fall damage. So rather than falling down from that height and taking the brute force or the full amount of fall damage, if you go into a mantle, your arms seem to take the damage instead of your legs. It does seem to be a reduced amount, but it no longer seems to completely cancel your fall damage. I did take a second approach of this just to double check it, and I didn't hit the side of it at all. I just caught myself with the mantle, but I still took fall damage. So do take note of that. Also for this, going up the wall, you want to kind of practice like a sprint, going into a sprint and then a mantle, because that's a lot easier to hit, and I feel more comfortable when I sprint into a mantle and I feel like I'm confident that I'm going to land where I am rather than just landing on stuff down below. The other two ways down is landing on these platforms. Yes, this is part of a mini parkour course. So this one here is 1.5 blocks away. If I build a wall, that'll go 1.5 across. So you want to practice this one sprinting, and you want to land on top of it. You can also do this into a mantle. If you jump a little bit short and you mantle on the ledge, that's not bad, and you can go back the other way exactly the same. And don't be too concerned if you fall down and you miss it. So you want to kind of sprint and then jump, and if you want to practice your mantling with it, you can practice your mantling with it as well. But that's more so for this one. You can practice it on top of this railing, which is actually a lot easier to hit if you're struggling to hit that simple mantle. But you can also do it from the ground level here. You got to time that jump at the perfect time, and even I mess it up sometimes, so that's all right. And as you can see, it's a little bit hard to jump into that one. This is probably the best practice for it, but it's really good to be able to sprint and jump from either side. This is also a great little practice climbing frame. You can also practice your jumps here, although you can perfectly jump from side to side on these if you time your jump right. This is more for mantling practice. So if you jump a little bit of a short hop, you can actually mantle on either side of these. Now, there's 3 courses here, and I'm going to explain all of them step by step. First, we're going to go through the middle course. Now, there's 2 sections to this. The beginning part is practicing your slides and changing your movement while you slide. Now, this might seem like a simple thing to do, especially if you approach it from a diagonal, but if you approach it from straight on and you do it with a sprint, you actually go a little bit faster, and changing directions doesn't come as simple. You want to practice this as much as possible. It's actually quite fun moving between it. You can put some music on while you practice this course as well, so you can really vibe out. And after a little while, you should get the flow of it right as well, and you should be able to slide from end to end. And the great thing about this as well is it doesn't use up your entire sprint while doing this, so you can keep going back and forth, and your sprint will just keep charging itself up because you're not using the full bar at once. Don't fret if you bump into the sides, this is all practice, so that's okay. Once moving into the left side here, this one's about learning your timing of your sprint and how your sprint works well for you as well as climbing. So for this one, if you sprint from edge to edge, you kind of can tell the distance because this is a flat of how long your sprint lasts. You can perfectly run from edge to edge where the blue and the red meet on this flat surface with your sprint, but the main reason for this little area is also to learn how to work that into a slide. If you work it into a slide, you actually go further, and it utilizes your velocity while your sprint can also charge. You don't have to completely exhaust your sprint before you start sliding. You can actually start sliding a little bit earlier as well, and then you can kind of tell, how does a hill help me out during this? How far can I actually go while my sprint recharges, etc. The next part for this little side section here is this climbing wall. Be careful not to build here. If we are practicing your builds, practice it outside the course, otherwise it will destroy it. You can always go back to lobby and then reload up the world and it will be fixed, so that doesn't really matter. So this is the basic section here where you can just jump and climb. You don't have to run and approach this. You can do like a little walk into a jump here. Note how high this is. This goes up to about my waist height when I stand on the second floor, so it's 1.5 blocks high. But note this second one here, I can't just jump onto this one and I can't just walk into this one. That's because you actually jump higher when you approach it with a sprint. So if you turn this into a sprint here, you can actually climb up the entire height of this wall, which is even taller than you standing on the next story. So you can climb very high in Fortnite. It's very important to learn how high you can actually climb, because then when you're in situations, especially in the zero build mode, you'll be able to tell where you can go. You can also utilize this in building as well. This next section here in the middle, which is coming from the reverse side, is learning about your timing, how well you can utilize your sprint and when not to use it. So this one's about learning how to slide across and then not to waste your sprint. Although you can sprint here, really what you want to do is you want to be able to make it all the way to the other side here without messing up. And you want to do that the fastest way possible. So how you approach this is sprint a little, slide, stop sprinting. Then when you get to this top part here, don't run up this, because you actually won't be going as fast as your maximum sprint. Then line yourself up on the next section. You should be able to mantle this, and then you should be able to sprint that last little extra bit. And if you don't lag like I did, that was kind of weird. So this last little section here is the right side. Now this one is for practicing your sliding, sprinting, shooting. Note, when you're sprinting, you can't pull out your gun. If you pull out your gun, you will end up cancelling your sprint. Same's for when you're jumping. You can't pull out your gun mid-air, especially when your arms are moving side to side. A standard jump, obviously you can, but not while you're in that fast movement. When you're sliding, however, you can pull out a gun. So in order to keep up the maximum speed in the game, you want to be able to learn how to sprint into a slide and then shoot. And that's what this little course here is for. So what you want to do is you want to start it off, you want to slide under this door, you want to sprint through this door, and then you want to burst through it, and you want to hit the target. Now this target has 100 health and will always respawn itself, so don't fret if you mess it up. You can do this with a slide, or you can also do this with a shoulder bash here, and then jump and turn around and hit the target. The reason that this is really good practice is currently a lot of people, especially in zero build mode, are hiding behind doors and areas inside and healing. So if you follow them around a corner, that's where they are. So this is good for getting that fluid movement going through, and then you can just turn around and shoot at them. And it's about doing that 180, getting some nice tracking done. Now this next section is a little bit similar, a little bit different. What you want to do is you want to push through this section here, go into a slide, and then you want to track this sign that's standing in front of you. Now this is for if someone wasn't standing behind a door. And then for our fans of SMG users, you can also practice this with your SMG as well, or striker pump into an SMG. We've got a similar little thing going on down the bottom of the hill, very, very close range slide. You want to be able to hit this one and track it. Last little section here is kind of similar, and track that one. Also put a basic target practice here on the side as well. So if you want to practice your shooting here, you can. I've got it from all ranges. They also all have 300 HP, which is similar to when you have overshield at 250 HP. If you really want to practice your movement, move side to side while shooting, as most players do these days. Third last part in the parkour course, none of this relating to ziplines, propellers, or cannons. is climbing up this wall section. Now, something you want to be able to do in Fortnite is be able to climb vertical. So if you want to be able to climb right above you, but you have a wall in the way, you can. Now, the way that you do this is you jump out and then you jump into the wall. Now, you can jump directly out from the wall and then climb up. That is a lot harder to do because it's a lot more mouse movement. But what you want to practice is a kind of standing parallel, jump to the side and then move back in. So it's a movement of out, up, in. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and you only have to tap going outwards. You really don't have to go out that far. So if there was no way up this building, you can actually climb this by breaking the second floor here. Now when you break this second floor, all you have to do is you have to climb up here, then you have to stand on this wall, and then you have to side jump, and you can jump up the corner. And this makes it really, really easy to get high on towers and other circumstances which you think you couldn't otherwise get to without building. So under these little target practice here towards the back side of this area of the map, we have a car here. This is to practice your movement with cars to a degree. Note, for example, if you're in a fight and you want to try and get cover and there's no cover near you, you can stand behind your car. A lot of people don't realize you can actually shoot people's feet through this. So always stand behind the tire area if you are using a car as cover, and make sure you try and head glitch it so you don't get hit as much as well. The other reason that we have a vehicle here as well is so you can practice landing into vehicles. You can actually land into vehicles to avoid yourself taking fall damage if you time the get in button perfectly. So you want to jump off the edge there and you want to hit that button and you want to time it perfectly so you don't take fall damage. It does take a little bit of skill to get right, as you notice that my health is a little bit lower. I messed it up at first, but other than that, it actually works out quite well most of the part, and you can land on tanks and other things as well. Now this section here will be in a future video where I talk about movement to do with utility items and stuff, but I don't want to make this video too long for you guys. I am going to show you the one little section here that you don't want to take note of. You can actually climb up frames of buildings like I showed you in that example. And something that you can do is not only scale yourself directly upwards, but directly upwards and forwards. For example, how do I get here without building? I can jump and then move to the side. There's other areas of this map as well. I built all this middle section, but these are like some pre-spawning ones. If you want to practice your climbing and sliding around them, just kind of like vibe out, practice your slides in between, and you can do this course as many times as you like also. And real quick, I'm going to show you some parts of climbing and mantling in builds, and then I'm going to be showing you how to use your movement around blimps to do with ziplines, cannons, and also propellers. So when you're in a build fight, you can actually use your climbing in many different circumstances. Some people might be waiting for you to shoot, or they might have themselves coned up the top. Rather than placing a ramp these days, you can simply mantle. Now, note, you don't want to mantle in a fight if someone's going to have a clear shot on you right away. It does take a while to pull your gun out after you mantle, so you don't want to catch yourself at a disadvantage. The reason you want to do this instead of placing a ramp is you want to save your mats, especially if you're playing arena. Having a limit of only 1500 mats is going to cut you short. So every single time you have an opportunity to not build, don't build. Use your climbing. It's also important to note you can actually climb up into windows in the game. You can only do this, however, with bricks. So say if you have a window in a second story, you can actually climb through it. If you just jump and mantle, you can climb, and then you typically stand in the window area here. In order to climb through it, what you have to do then is just crouch through it and then walk through the other side. You can't do this with metal at all, and you can't do this with wood. Also, when it comes to builds, you can practice your limitations of how high you can jump. You can not only jump this height, you can also jump this height with a sprint. So those are the basics of how you climb in the game and how you move around and how you get your movement down pat. Really, you've got to combo all of it together, and it's about making it as creative as you like. It's only going to be as good as you can imagine it. One little trick I'm going to show you guys for this video is you can actually 180 in Fortnite right now off the ledge of a building. Now, this does take some perfect timing, but if you sprint, jump, and then you turn at the last section, you can mantle reverse yourself. If someone's chasing you on your tower, for example, and they're right behind you, and you've run up here, and they've decided to mantle to follow you, and you're about to jump off, they're probably going to sprint and try and jump off after you, especially if you're low health. But if you turn and make that last minute decision to mantle, they could follow you and fall off the edge. I actually had a situation the other day when I was playing in the no build tournament with one of my friends while I was in shifty shafts, and they actually hit me on an angle like this. I moved around this corner, and what I did is I mantled up the side. What they assumed I did is drop down because they couldn't see me right away, and then they dropped down the bottom of shifty. So I've currently loaded into a squads no-fill game to show you guys some of the movement here, because some of this movement actually can't be replicated in battle labs or creative or other bits and pieces. There's actually 3 things you want to learn. First thing is you want to learn how high you can actually get when you go on these things. The propellers on the blimps are meant to send you like high up in the air, and if you actually pop up in your chute early, you go higher. And that's because the air grabs onto the chute. Whenever you land in the game, you always want to land and turn it into a slide to maximize your velocity and how fast you actually move. And this will stop people from being able to track you, path you, and also make it easier for you to land on guns way before other people. So this is a really good area if you want to practice like hitting slides right after landing from the battle bus. Coming into ziplines in the game, what you want to learn is you want to learn detaching and attaching yourself from it. Now this makes your movement harder to track, Do note you can also change your direction mid-zipline in Fortnite, apart from the ziplines that go up and down using these ziplines. Now, you can always go down the ziplines at any time, as you don't use the handle, but you can't always go up. Unless the handle is at the bottom, you can't launch yourself upwards. If you do run into someone coming up the zipline while you are coming down it, the person coming up, the handle will knock you and you will get knocked out of the way. Also note, you don't always have to connect to the zipline from here. If, for example, you're coming down from here, you can actually like connect to the zipline right towards the bottom. And just like the minute you press that button, you'll connect as long as you're close enough to it. You can also do stuff like this, connect and then jump off it, because you don't take fall damage when you hit the zipline. So this is really good for like movement for playing around ziplines. Say if someone's chasing you around, you can hit the zipline, jump off, hit a shot, and then if your gun's reloaded, you can spray. So this back zipline is really important to learn as well, because if you can hear someone coming up it and you're waiting for them and you hit your first shot, they're going to go way over your head and land about here. So you want to learn that tracking for it. The last little bit of movement, what you want to learn on these blimps is jumping across these little ledges here. Now this can be quite hard to do if you have high ping, but landing on these sometimes, if the top gets highly contested and you see loot, can be very advantageous. You can also jump into these zip lines here as well. So for learning the cannons, what you want to learn is when you can deploy your glider. Also note, when you deploy your glider, you can't actually put it back away when launching from the cannons, and it makes you a really easy target in the air. So for learning the cannons, say if you launch yourself that high, see how I can deploy my glider? There's going to be a certain point in time where it says I can't, and this has actually messed me up a few times in games. See how I can't deploy it now? So if I wanted to change direction at last minute, I would not be able to. The last thing you want to learn for movement is the Spiderman webs here. Now, these webs in Daily Bugle without building can actually be quite hard to navigate. But once you get the hang of it and how to move around it, it actually can be to your advantage. Now, utilizing these webs can make it so you can access the zip lines on any part of this map. And on top of that as well, you can actually change direction. So if you need to get from mountain to mountain, and you need to rotate fast, this is the way you do it in the no build mode. So what you typically want to do here is you want to learn how to like hit these webs so you can hit the zip lines. Now not all of them can connect, but as you can see, I can hit this mountain to this mountain, but even without builds, I can actually go from that mountain to that mountain. You want to kind of have your depth perception so you're looking straight on, because if you're looking from an angle, like head on with your own zipline, it's going to be hard. You want to kind of be lined up with the other one. Then you want to jump, and you want to change zip lines mid-flight. You can do this multiple different ways, and you can jump down to other zip lines. And this is greatly going to improve your movement if you can learn how to zipline hop. Great example for showing the 3 points of positioning in game, or how to use your movement. And that has to do with line of sight, repositioning, and leading enemies. Number 1, I was standing on low ground here. So I led the enemy to where I was. And that was based on where I directed myself in game, where I had movement. I also had cover here. Number 2, I changed where I was moving, so when they started moving towards me, that I wasn't in the single one place. And number 3, I led them to that lower ground, and where I could get a little bit of a high ground advantage here as well, where I could shoot down on them, so I wasn't shooting directly up where they could only see my head. One of the only examples on where you want to mantle into your enemy's face. Although people can hit you for a lot with shotguns, if you have 200 HP and you hit someone a fair bit, and you know they're relatively low, you've cracked them for example, you can mantle here in order to get high ground on them. They're not going to cone you, they're not going to place a floor because they did not see you ramp or place your own cone in order to get height. It throws them off, you can get in their face right after cracking them, and it allows you to hit an easy shot on them as well. So for this example, one that's in the past, you can tell my line of sight here, the way I approach this person in this fight. I'm using my movement to my advantage. Although I cut them a little bit, I don't want to directly run at them full on from the front, because then they're going to be able to have a 3 shot on me. So the way I approach it is I take the right side where the rock that's in front of them actually provides me some cover, and that red area is their line of sight, which I have now cut off. This clip here is a great example on using movement to your advantage as well. Note the way I approached this guy. Although I knew where they were and I could have given them a free striker pump shot to me, sprinting and the last second turning that sprint into a slide allowed me to pull my gun out early and hit some shots on them as well. Note as well, during this fight, what I'm doing here is I'm tracking them, I'm moving around, and I am crouching. A lot of people make the mistake of jumping in fights. Now, although you can jump in fights and it sometimes works to your advantage, you don't want to jump repetitively. The more you jump in fights, the slower you get, because in Fortnite there's this thing called jump fatigue. The more you jump around, your jumps become slower and you start just moving little hops up and down in the game. In this clip, I'm showing you the use case of using ziplines and knowing where they are in the game. You do not have to hit ziplines at any point at the start. You can hit them at any point in order to hit the ground and not take fall damage. So you can do this mid-air, you can jump off the side of a ship and hit it as well. Do note, however, if someone uses a handle and comes up on your way down, the handle will bump you off. So you have to press that again real quick, otherwise you will take fall damage in the game. This clip is a phenomenal example for using movement. When you hit someone in a car, typically what you want to do is you want to wait a few seconds before jumping out, because you want to see where they land. Because if you jump out right away, they could see you before you see them and they could hit some nasty shots on you. This person almost killed me, and they played this really phenomenally well, the way that they leaned out of the car, hit some shots on me and jumped in the car. I was initially planning to move them to zone. My movement gave me better positioning and gave me a better advantage. I hid behind a box. I was in cover. My enemy could not see me. Therefore, I could peek out, take shots where only so much of my body was showing, where I could see the whole enemy's body and I could hit shots on them. Therefore, although I was low HP, although I almost died from making a fatal mistake in game, my positioning, leading my enemy to where I was and bringing them out in the open caused me to win the fight. This one's a great example as well of people using jump fatigue and it messing them up. Note the way I approached this fight from the start. I slid down the hill. I was on the right side of the tree, so it was harder for them to pick me. Then when I hit them, I hit a couple shots and then I move behind the tree. When I'm reloading, I'm using the tree as cover. I keep continuously repositioning myself. One of the 3 main things that movement can help you with. Note how this guy was jumping continuously. They caused themselves to have jump fatigue and therefore I had the advantage. Although they hit me for a lot in the end, I had better positioning and better movement, and therefore that's the reason I won the engagement and won this game. So I hope those fundamentals and all those little bits and pieces help you out in the game. Take note, you can be as creative as you like, but you're only as good as you perceive yourself to be. When you make mistakes, analyze your mistakes and note what you did wrong. It's the only way you're going to learn and really truly improve in the game. Other than that, make sure you like the video. If you haven't yet already, hit that subscribe down below. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs. I've got all my links down in the description: Discord, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Follow me on all that good stuff if you like, and other than that, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.